A lot happened today on this thing in Minnesota, where there's this massive fraud, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, and the president was asked about it. But earlier in the day, the governor of Minnesota, Mr. Walz, was holding a press conference. Governor Walz explaining his view that when asked if the Somali American population should be held accountable for what went on, here's what he said. Number 19, please.
I want to hear more from members and leaders from the Somali community to say, we need to look at ourselves, we need to hold our own neighbors accountable, because look at the damage that this has done to our community. What do you want to hear more from, instead of just saying, don't blame us? Do you want to see more ownership and oversight from within this?
Look, it's not law-abiding citizens. If that were the case, there's a lot of white men should be holding a lot of white men accountable for the crimes that they have committed. I think for the community to maybe educate their population, because I think what you're seeing here is there's secondary victims in this, that there's providers inside the community that are then victimizing the community themselves by signing them up, because when we're going to some of these people, they're like, I had no idea I was in this program. So I think it's asking us then, for every crime, which of course the majority being committed by white men, asking us to do more about that. I think it's crime in general. And I think the biggest thing on this is just making sure that we're educating the population. And again, this is 80 people or so that have been convicted in this, maybe some more in that, out of a.
Okay, and a little bit more, number 20, Sam. Same concept, number 20.
Again, this is 80 people or so that have been convicted in this, maybe some more in that, out of a broader ring. Medicaid fraud will stretch across all racial demographics, all ethnic groups. So I think it's really important for us to note each community's got this in their own midst, but to blame them and say that they should have been responsible for stopping it, I think that's a pretty hard reach. I think we continue to educate folks about why they shouldn't commit crimes. You would hope that it's being taught both at home and at schools and in our society. But no, I think this idea that the Somali community's to blame for this because they didn't do more, I think that's how we got into this. And that's, again, I know we're not going to lose the whole plot here. All this work that's being done, Donald Trump brought this to the attention like this is something brand new. This is not brand new, and it's been being worked on, but he made it white hot and very dangerous.
Here's the CBS News did a big report on this whole thing today and brought some new facts to light. Here's a soundbite from the U.S. Attorney, Mr. Rosen, on the case. Number 21, please.
Happened here in Minnesota that allowed this fraud to materialize, to metastasize?
It appears that the people at the highest levels of responsibility in the government of the state of Minnesota looked the other way.
Okay, and finally, here's the President of the United States again, just a little bit while ago, talking about what happened today.
I think she's very bad for our country. All she does is complain.
Omar.
She comes out of a country where they have no government, they have no military, they have no police, they got no nothing. They don't have a country. And they run around killing each other. And then she comes over here. She tells the United States of America how it should be run. We don't want to hear from her. I don't want to hear from her. I don't want to speak for Emmer, but I don't think Emmer particularly wants to hear. But don't say it because I don't want to get you in trouble, okay? Just be nice and easy, all right? I'll do it for you, but that part I'll do. But I just want to say that there's nothing worse than a person that comes in and does nothing but bitch and comes from a place where she shouldn't be telling us what to do. She shouldn't be telling us, and everybody agrees with me. And what's happening in Minnesota with Somalia, where billions of dollars is being stolen, right, like candy from a baby, we're not going to let that go on. And it's too great a state to have that happening. And guys like Tom Emmer and others, Pete Stauber, guys like them, they're going to stop it. And they're going to be given the authority to stop it, because this country is not going to put up with it anymore.
Andrew, what's your view of this controversy?
I think there's a lot of projecting going on in that statement. I mean, President Trump complaining about people complaining. It's a little projection. I mean, we've seen how much he's complained about the news coverage about himself. We've seen how much he's complained about things like the way they portray his crowd sizes, right? So I think this is a mountain out of a molehill. When you actually look at the dollar amounts of Medicare and Medicaid fraud, it's often these corporations that have perpetrated the most significant dollar amount. And now we're scapegoating the Somali American community in Minnesota when in fact most of them weren't even aware of their enrollment in the program. These were people who were non-native English speakers who were being taken advantage of. And at the same time, you know, if there was anybody who did push the envelope, like poor people are going to try and get money. And the larger issue is that we have eroded the social safety net in the United States, particularly around immigrant communities. We're not providing the support that we need to allow them to get on their feet. And we know that once we do give them that support, they've become thriving American citizens that help grow our economy. And we're not doing what we need to make that happen.
It may be my monitor, but Joel, do I see little white puffs of smoke coming out of your ears?
Well, like look, Andy, I really like you, but this isn't a story about a few poor people getting money. We're talking about potentially 80 people that defrauded taxpayers to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. This was a lot of money. It was a concerted effort. And look, I don't think we should, of course, be blaming any entire immigrant community or non-immigrant community for the fraud perpetrated by a handful of that community. That is not right. And I don't agree with all of the president's statements on that. But to see what Walz was doing, Governor Walz, and just deflecting criticism from this and trying to shift the focus to the crimes that other races commit, this should not be a racial issue. The government of Minnesota either turned a blind eye or they were very negligent in uncovering the fraud that was occurring. This took federal prosecutors getting involved to uncover this and to prosecute it. And that's what the focus can be on. So we have this type of fraud. It's not just that it defrauds taxpayers in general. It also harms the people that need that aid. And we did see Governor Walz mention that there were a lot of individuals that probably needed the aid that were supposedly signed up that weren't seeing a dime of the stolen money.
Cozy Earth, still available to you, 40% off, but act tonight. Trust me, I can't tell you when it's ending, but act tonight. 40% off everything on the Cozy Earth website. Those are the sheets, the bubble cuddle blanket, the towels. You'll never use another towel again. You may travel with these towels over winter break and say the hotel towels, well, they're not good enough. And then, of course, the t-shirts. And then, of course, the pants. All available to you now at extraordinary 40% off. Go to CozyEarth.com. Buy something for everyone on your list, as well as some stuff for yourself. It's not effortless to buy pants for others, but you can. And, of course, if they don't fit, you'll send it back. Cozy Earth is giving the gift of comfort that lasts beyond the holidays and carries into a cozy new year. 40% off everything on the site. If you're listening now, you have time to give the gift of luxury this holiday season. CozyEarth.com. The promo code is two-way for an extraordinary 40% off everything that you purchase. Thank you for your attention to that matter. They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America. And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and two-way tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.